We're live. F1 fanatics are live. F1 is back, and what a race! What's happened?
What
I
did I
can't
just
believe
watch?
it. I don't know. It's back. Is it back?
It's back.
We're definitely back. Valtteri Bottas has won the Austrian Grand Prix. No surprise to see a Mercedes at the front of the Austrian Grand Prix, but Tara is so excited. She's shouting. Everyone's shouting. It's kind of mad to kind of see. But yeah, Valtteri Bottas has won. Charles Leclerc, Ferrari somehow have managed to get on the podium. And Lando Norris, his first podium, his first Formula One podium. He's got it in the first race of the 2020 season. What a race we've seen. Like 3 safety cars. What was it in the end? 8 retirements, 9 retirements potentially.
And 11 people finished.
Crazy. Ash getting there. Lando. Liam's in the chat as well. Hamilton deserves the penalty, but there, yeah, obviously Hamilton and Albon clashing. You've got to feel sorry for Alexander Albon today. And Nico's pondering in the chat, what the madness. I know.
We waited so long for an F1 race, and we got that.
Yep, thanks F1. That's literally enough. What the doctor ordered.
See you again in another 200 days.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, we're going to wait another 7 months for next one now. No, next week in Austria, same place. Oh, a Mercedes, that mechanical issue. There. Anyway, so live streams, live reactions for F1 fanatics post-race is what we'll do now is we'll go through kind of the race order. Then me and Stephen are kind of give our thoughts. We'll jump in the chat as much as we can, as well as we go along with these things. And yeah, we're just going to obviously be chatting and talking about, I don't know how long we'll be, because that is a hell of a race to kind of be talking about there. Kelly 29, how Ferrari got the podium, I will never know. But Lando got third. Yes, I don't think anyone knows how Ferrari, in the awful state that they were all weekend, have somehow managed to get a podium there. But incredible. F1 can stay late every season if we get races like that from Ash. Absolutely. But anyway, the running order, Stephen's watching the podium. Lando Norris is going absolutely mental, showering the McLaren kind of garage guys. After he got out that car, that embrace with Zach Brown, that was incredible to see, wasn't it? Charles Leclerc is God. I mean, you always talk about the best drivers managing to get an incredible performance out of a car that is better. And Charles Leclerc, certainly the Ferrari, the 5th fastest car. Racing Point obviously cocked up on Perez's pit strategy, and he got a 5-second penalty for going in the pit lane, which allowed Charles to take advantage. Overtook them at McLaren as well, that looked closer. Overwards, unbelievable how Charles Leclerc has managed to get a podium, but we'll talk about that as it goes along.
Podiums, there's like 5 different drivers going for them.
Lewis,
Albon, Charles, Sainz, if he got past Norris.
I honestly don't know what to say in terms of that. But anyway, the race run through, in case you didn't know, the official, because obviously the time penalties and everything coming in, this is how the Austrian Grand Prix officially ends. Valtteri Bottas with a 1 minute 08. Why is that 1 minute 08? That was his fastest time. I'm lost. I can't even go in there. Charles Leclerc, P2. Lando Norris, P3, completing that podium.
With the fastest lap, so that's 11 points for Norris.
Yeah, incredible. Lewis Hamilton with finishing P4 with that 5-second penalty. Rox in the chat. Oh my God, Lando! By the way, hi guys. Hi Rox. Good for you to kind of be in the chat. Carlos Sainz manages to get P5 behind his not even rookie teammate anymore, because this is Lando Norris's 2nd full season F1. Perez with that 5-second penalty drops down. He goes into P6. Pierre Gasly P7. Esteban Ocon on his return to F1 finish in P8. Giovinazzi in P9, and Vettel just managing to scrape into the points. So crazy with Ferrari. And Vettel spun again. That's going to be a 1 point to talk about. You literally could not write some of the moments in this race. Nicholas Latifi on debut, just narrowly missing out on the points 11. Kvyat having that late puncture. Albon having a spin and then his car failing. Red Bull was definitely a day to forget. Starting off with lap 14 retirement with Max Verstappen. Raikkonen had a tyre that just fell off. Russell's car just stopped, which helped kind of start all this chaos. Grosjean Magnussen retired. They look like they both had brake issues.
Yeah.
Haas, their problems in Formula One look like they continue. Sadness for Latifi just missing out. Absolutely. Stroll must be gutted. Finding a car that's, showing things, and he had engine problems and had to retire early on. Daniel Ricciardo had a cooling issue, forcing him to retire. Another season, another Daniel Ricciardo retirement. I mean, you literally could not write this kind of storylines up. It's terrible. And Max Verstappen, the first to retire. It says lap 11 on the mediums, but it was definitely, I'm pretty sure, lap 14 that he retired on there. Tab 11, that was way Magnussen saved his car. It was pretty impressive that Magnussen managed to save the car with no brakes. But that is the running order of the Austrian Grand Prix.
That sums up, Sam.
That was fucking mental. Absolutely. I don't know. Where do you begin?
Where do you begin?
I mean, obviously, at the start of the race, Lewis Hamilton was given a grid penalty as Red Bull kind of doing what any teams would do to try and gain an advantage over a team. It looked like it was similar to the incident that Max got a 3-place grid penalty and 2 penalty points on his license in Mexico last year. New evidence emerged. It might have even been within an hour of the Grand Prix. Lewis Hamilton was given that penalty.
Yeah.
And Valtteri steamed off into the lead at the start. And then Max Verstappen, everything was going all right. It seemed a pretty clean and going on there. Cheers, Sam. We'll have fun with the review in terms of this. But yeah, it's... Oh, God. And then Max Verstappen retired. And obviously, I think a lot of people were angry at Red Bull, were angry at the penalty for Lewis Hamilton. But it was fair for me. It's the rules. You don't speed through a yellow flag. The new evidence emerged. What you can say, it shouldn't really be happening an hour within the race. And there was clear footage yesterday that Formula One released on their Twitter that zoomed in on Lewis Hamilton driving past a yellow flag without lifting off the accelerator, which was crazy. But anyway, that was the chaotic start. The race, what would you say? It was probably looks like it was quite mellow. Racing Point, up until this...
I don't think any part of this race was mellow. There was always something going on.
Okay, it was less crazy than whatever the hell else happened.
Like up top, Bottas just drove a spectacular race. Dominant. He didn't make a single mistake. I think it's fair to say he controlled it well. Lewis was pushing him at some points, and maybe team orders possibly meant Lewis didn't try and make a move on Bottas. But Bottas deserved victory for him.
Yeah, I think so. And
everything behind him.
But that's when things started to go crazy for me. The Mercedes, we got this radio message that the Mercedes were having gearbox issues in both cars, and they were told lift off. I thought initially it might have been them playing games to make sure that Hamilton and Bottas held position, but it seemed like a really serious issue. And then George Russell's cars retired, and it then led to a load of chaos. And oh God, I don't even. I'm trying to think of flashpoints. Grosjean was spinning off in gravel, but that was probably more towards the fact that the Haas brakes clearly had an issue all race. And I can't believe where do we even begin with this? I'm going to try and get with the comments. Rox, what were you disagreeing with? You don't think Lewis Hamilton should have got a penalty for the yellow flag? No team orders, car issues is what held him back. Okay, yeah, fair enough in terms of that. Definitely was that on the kind of...
It kind of was
Hamilton.
team orders, though, because you're telling them not to push, to not break the cars.
Latifi's P11 equals George Russell's best finish in F1. Incredible, isn't it? Absolutely. George Russell, you have to say, with all the retirements that went on, and Giovinazzi, did Giovinazzi finish in the points? He finished P9, didn't he?
The only guy that didn't finish in the points was Latifi.
Yeah, so George Russell maybe would have finished in the points if his car hadn't packed in.
I'd like to see it at the end, because we never saw it, but Vettel and Gio were having a fight, and Gio beat Vettel. Yeah. Hilariously.
Absolutely.
Alpha stronger than Ferrari, clearly.
I mean, I do not know. Okay, let's talk about the podium. Let's try and talk about that. So Valtteri Bottas, he's driven a brilliant race. He needed to come out the blocks flying. Austria is a stronger track. It's one of his stronger tracks that he has over Lewis Hamilton. Lewis Hamilton never really has traditionally done well. He's only won once in the turbo hybrid there in 2016, and that was even when it came a collision with Nico Rosberg, and Nico couldn't finish the race. But yeah, traditionally, Lewis hasn't done well at Austria. I think in the last 4 races, he's got grid penalties before the race has even begun. And obviously, he's got a 5-second penalty at the end of the race there. But yeah, Bottas has capitalised on the advantage, and he's probably got to do the same next week to contain the advantage there. Ferrari have looked awful all weekend, but they did look better on the hard compound. Yeah. And then obviously pitting for the fresher tyres at the end, he was able to get past Lando Norris. Sergio Perez got a 5-second penalty, but he got past Sergio Perez anyway, and then just was in that 5-second gap when Lewis Hamilton was given that 5-second penalty and was able to capitalise and get a second-place position. I mean, this is the thing. Ferrari, it looks an engine problem. I can't see the upgrades that are muted to bring in Hungary are going to change things massively for them. But surely, if somehow it does miraculously change Ferrari back into a top 3 team for this season, that would be absolutely mental in terms of damage limitation today.
Yeah.
And a lot has got to be given. Lando Norris, from the start, obviously started in P3, outstanding qualifying performance being P4 on the Saturday, and he drove an absolutely flawless race, didn't he?
Yeah.
And
there were some mistakes in there. And he nearly lost it to Sainz right at the end.
Yeah, true.
Before finding the perfect lap on the final lap to somehow close. It was about a second or half a second he had to find on Lewis on that final lap to get within the 5-second time penalty.
Yeah, and Roxy's question in the comments is probably quite a good one to pick up in here in terms of the McLaren wasn't meant to have any race pace. All the kind of race pace kind of stats, all the people who analyse it from Friday practice on the long runs were saying that both Racing Point and Ferrari were closer to there. But obviously Lando Norris pretty much kept up with Perez all race, essentially. And Perez did get past, but that was mainly because he was on the softer compound. And Racing Point really did stuff up the plan because when everyone pitted on the first round of pit stops, they missed out on that chance.
It's a bit confusing.
Kept Sergio out on the thing because he could have come on to probably a soft compound again, or he could have come on to another set of mediums.
Yeah, he would have gone on to another set of mediums.
He would have come on to at least a fresher set of tyres and he probably would have gone. But yeah, go. Hi, Ali. Thanks for joining in. Absolutely incredible race on there. But yeah.
Well, I think we need to talk about, that's the podium, but I see a lot of talk about Albon versus Lewis. That corner, safety car, Albon on the quick tyres. He's made the move on Perez on the previous safety car. Going into turn 4, is it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's turn 4.
Turn 4 on the outside. Ahead of Lewis in the middle part of the corner. And it's Brazil 2019 again.
Well, yeah, obviously the difference in Brazil 2019 was that Lewis was the faster car and Albon left the gap open in terms of there. But Albon was going there and look, he's made contact. It was an avoidable incident. Albon risked it and obviously he's paid the penalty on there. But Lewis Hamilton, I think it's fair enough. I don't really see anyone saying that it wasn't a fair penalty on Lewis Hamilton for that one.
Yeah, I'd say on Albon, there's much easier places on the track and lots more forgiving places to overtake on the track than at turn 4 because there's no margin for error. Go onto the curb, you then slip off into the gravel, and just like he did. I felt Lewis gave quite a bit of it. Obviously, he left his car there and clipped the back of Albon. So, yeah, deserved penalty, I think. But Albon probably should have had the patience to hold off. There was how many laps left?
There's so many laps left. So many laps there at that point.
And he would have had DRS in a couple of laps' time. I think Albon, it was a mistake on both parts, I would say, on that one.
I would say Albon's still very much learning. He's desperate for that first podium. Obviously, he felt like it was coming in Brazil 2019. He felt like it was coming today. He had pretty much guaranteed third place, but he was hungry for that second place. And yeah, probably maybe not the ideal place to try and take an experienced driver like Lewis. But Yeah, exactly. Rock's saying it looked like Lewis was going for the racing line, but Albon was already there. I mean, Lewis was ahead going into the corner, and it was very kind of wheel-to-wheel action. And I don't think I would have been surprised if it was just noted as a racing incident, but you can't really complain either way. If it was given a racing incident, you were going, Albon's put his car there and from there. But if it's given a penalty, you can't, in the same breath, say it shouldn't be a penalty. I think it's fair enough, and that he was penalised for that incident.
I just realised out of the rookies of 2019, Norris is the first one to get a podium.
How incredible is that? How incredible, considering the car that Alex Albon is in. And obviously Albon, is very unlucky on those two incidents in Brazil and obviously today as well. But yeah, Carlos Sainz, obviously Lando Norris finished best of the rest P6 last year in 2019. So it's clearly a track that he feels comfortable in the kind of lap time that he did, obviously put in P4 in qualifying, promoted to P3 at the start of the race. And yeah, it was incredible. And although they lost it, they didn't look great on the soft compound, but from the medium compound, it really did have great race pace, didn't it?
Yeah, very, very strong.
It showed that midfield is going to be so close. And I think the real actual upset here is Daniel Ricciardo, because he looked like that Renault had race pace. He was all over the kind of gearbox of Sebastian Vettel, but again, another reliability issues. And that's just Renault, isn't it, in a nutshell? They have a car. They have a really good car there, but can it finish? I mean, Esteban Ocon had a very good return race, actually. It's probably something to talk about.
It looked like he was struggling for the good part of the first part of the race. But yeah, finished well.
Real Ben Holmes, this track is punishing most cars on track when it's safe at all. I think that is the biggest surprise. I know after 7 months, but this is like going back to F1 in the golden years, shall we say, where reliability was an issue, and getting cars actually finishing in a race was an achievement in itself. I mean, when have we heard Mercedes over a kind of conversation be that concerned about their reliability? Even the Mercedes, as flawless as that team were, had issues,
critical gearbox issues,
and maybe that's the thing.
Ever gone, you're having a critical issue in a race?
Yeah, it was crazy, wasn't it? Matthew D'Souza in the chat, could Hamilton have done anything else in the Albon move? I don't really know.
I think it was very tough because he was actually ahead going into the corner. It wasn't like Albon was ahead into the corner. It was only the middle part of the corner. Albon came round ahead. It's difficult.
That's why I said you could probably argue either way.
Yeah.
If he kind of goes in and it wasn't given a penalty, it would have gone. I wouldn't have been too like.
If Albon was ahead into the corner and then Lewis continued to push him wide, then it'd 100% be Lewis's fault. It was a difficult one.
Hamilton thinks it was a racing incident. I can understand that from Lewis's point of view. In terms of Tabelone, who cares what Albon says? He is ignoring the fact that he took the risk and was impatient, in my opinion. It's a fair comment to make, I think. Albon is showing a little bit. This is what Red Bull wanted from Gasly. They wanted them to be aggressive. Red Bull do want their drivers to be aggressive. So I think they'll back Albon 100% for the move that he tried to do. But Albon's racecraft, that is probably where he's lacking for me as a driver at the moment, in terms of when he's overtaken against the top guys. In the midfield guys, he seems to be comfortable. He knows how to kind of get that move. Yeah. But against guys who are on his level or in each matching machinery, he does seem to struggle to make convincing and clean moves as it currently stands.
It was a good move on Perez. The safety car before, just before the safety car came out, going into turn 3, diving on the inside, wasn't it?
Well, he took advantage of Perez locking up.
Yeah.
In terms of it there, didn't he? So go. Deanna Troy, it felt like no one remembered to blow the cobwebs off the cars after they've been in storage for the 200 odd days. It did feel like that. Absolutely. That.
Haas just forgot to put brake pads on the cars. Alpha forgot to check if the tyres were fully attached.
Well, that was clearly a problem for both Alphas. because Kvyat's tyre just blew up at the end of the race. He went, "It's a puncture," and Brundle was like, "I think it's a little bit more like
Little did Kvyat know that his tyre had basically fallen off his car.
Just blew up." Aaron Shimoda, do you think we will see the same sort of reliabilities and as many come next week? Realistically, yes.
Yeah.
Because
you have no time to do anything in basically the week.
Yeah.
Albeit you don't have to worry about travel. So that gives you a little bit more time, but yeah.
I honestly can't see, like, Mercedes, if it's the track's damaging on their gearbox issues, how can they solve that in a week? Because that's quite a fundamental issue on the car.
Exactly, yeah.
So that series, I mean, it would be incredible to get the turnaround. But yeah, I mean, Kahari Ameli's probably summing up what we're going, "What have I just watched?"
I've just seen Ash's comment saying no one has mentioned another mistake by Vettel. But we haven't got that far down the positions yet to talk about those drivers.
Oh, Seb. Honestly, I tweeted.
Who did he spin with again?
Carlos Sainz, I think it was. I think Sainz and Leclerc were fighting, weren't they? Or was it Sainz and Stroll? I don't know if Stroll had...
I think Sainz was moving on. It was just after the safety car restart. Sainz was trying to make a move on Leclerc, went a bit wide, so Vettel saw the inside, thought he could make it, made contact and spin. That was his race, because then he got stuck behind the Alphas, who he just seemed to never be able to overtake, even with DRS. He's even stuck behind George for a while. Yeah,
it was a really bad day at the office for Sebastian Vettel, and a weekend that just gets bad from worse. Out in Q2, didn't make it to Q3. Yeah, that spin again. You just see the headlines being writing for poor Seb was racing with himself when he spun. Yeah, I think that's probably a fair shout, Rox. You know, he didn't need to make that move. He locked up. He just... I don't even know what he was doing, because the overtake was never on.
No.
I don't know if he thought the space was... Yeah, I don't know whether he thought the space was kind of going ahead of him, so he had to try and go there and then had to turn late, locked up. Then Sainz turned in for the corner. He couldn't stop his car because it had locked up, so it was just kind of going in a straight line. Geez, yeah, Sebastian Vettel is definitely weekend to forget, and that Ferrari relationship does look like it is falling apart rapidly.
Paul Russell as well could have had a point for Williams. I can't say that name.
Fauji Brat. That's what I'm going to go for.
I think Russell definitely would have got a point if Latifi only got 11th, because Russell was ahead of Vettel before his engine went. So I think George very likely would have had a point.
I think I might. Matthew Aziz is going back to when I made the bold predictions, I think, for the 2020 championship. I put Sebastian Vettel. I admit that was a romantic decision. I wanted Seb in what was probably going to be his last season at Ferrari to win the World Championship, but I do think that it's nowhere near. And could we see Sebastian Vettel walk out halfway through a season?
Yeah, I was saying to you, who's the Ferrari reserve driver by any chance?
I wouldn't be surprised on that. Matt, great shame there is no crowd cheering Lando after such an epic drive. It is a shame. It is absolutely a shame that there, but I don't know. That embrace with, like I said, Lando and Zach post-race, that was incredible to see. And on the podium, going and spraying the champagne, spraying his kind of mechanics and stuff on the strategist on the pit wall, that was beautiful to see. And it really is great to see McLaren on the up and competing. And we need the racing points. We need the McLarens to get closer to the top two, because at the moment, as things stands, it's a top two between Mercedes and Red Bull. And if they didn't have those gearbox issues, it's essentially just a one-horse race with Mercedes. And it's just whether that Valtteri Bottas can challenge Lewis Hamilton over the course of the season. But I think we have to give real credit here. Lewis was quicker and he was pacey, but Valtteri held his own.
Yeah.
He was consistent, like you said at the start. Go from there. Hi, Viandra in chat. Thanks for joining us. He just... He held his own there, definitely. And I don't think, as much as things didn't go his way this weekend for Lewis Hamilton, things really did go right for Valtteri Bottas.
Yeah.
Pole, I know you're obviously a bit upset about his comments post-pole, but...
Yeah, well, to be fair, he had the worst issues car issues than Lewis Hamilton. So his engineer, I didn't think that was the wisest comment. Literally told him, "Your car's in a worse state than Lewis's. Don't push." It's not what you want to hear, but he held it together, kept all that pressure, and got first. Like we said, dominant performance from him.
Yeah, and just trying to think. I mean, Racing Point, obviously, they were. Everyone's talking about the kind of the pink Mercedes, the Racing Point, whatever way you want to go on that front. Qualifying, they looked like the pace was still there. Race, let's be honest, if they got their strategy right, and without the penalty, the Racing Point was ahead of the McLaren. On actual pace. So it does look like it is ahead and probably the lead car in the midfield. But obviously with engine issues with Stroll and they're definitely one to look out, probably doing better in next weekend's race. But the Racing Point really does look like a serious threat. But with Charles Leclerc, unless both Red Bulls retire or have incidents again, you can't really see them competing for podiums again.
I think Red Bull were clearly, I think they were above McLaren and Racing Point and miles ahead of Ferrari. It's just two issues. There's lots going on. I'm missing comments.
Yeah, if you told at the end of the 2019 from Real Ben Holmes again, the start of the season would be Austria with starting almost halfway through the year and almost half the grid retired, I would have called you insane. I think everyone would have called you insane. That's probably the best way to go on there. Ash coming in where he thinks the team orders are at the moment. It looks like Merck, obviously, clearly. Red Bull, McLaren, Racing Point. I would put Racing Point ahead of McLaren.
Because I think McLaren definitely have the better reliability.
Yeah.
They were still having puffs of smoke, weren't they? Perez and Stroll at turn one. Like, what's that about?
AlphaTauri and Ferrari on the same level. That's mental. That's crazy. I think the Ferrari are ahead of there. You've missed out Renault on that list. Haas, Alfa Romeo, Williams.
Vettel was slower than the Alfa Romeos.
I mean, I think we've got to make a note. I know she's not in the chat for thing, but Kevin Magnussen had an absolutely incredible start and it looked like he was going all right. But yeah, double brake failures for the Haas cars. That really is bad. When was the last time teammates had double brake failures? Was it the Toro Rossos in 2018 in Russia? I'm not sure on that one, but Bonotto can bite me. I'm guessing something's controversial in the there. Lando is driver of the day. Lando for me, I think certainly is driver of the day.
Albon got voted driver of the day. Come on now.
Well, Max Verstappen usually has it hijacked, doesn't he?
The sympathy vote, but he made a mistake. Well, you can argue he didn't make a mistake. He was too impatient, which set those events in. I'm trying to think of the
emotion.
Emotion, that's well.
There we go. But in fairness, that driver of the day vote usually does get hijacked by Max Verstappen. So I guess a lot of Max Verstappen fans were disappointed that he didn't make it anywhere near into the deep race. So it goes from there. I put out a tweet. I'll throw it into the comments because I know there was a lot of anger towards Red Bull and Max Verstappen before race with that kind of penalty being applied to Lewis Hamilton pre-race. But I was a little bit, I'm getting greedy now because we've had an absolutely sensational race there back. But how much would you have liked to see Max Verstappen in P3 with those Mercedes gearbox issues and, at that safety car restart? That would have been really exciting to kind of see.
Maybe he would have been punted off turn 4.
Maybe would have been, but I think Max's racecraft is definitely a lot better than Alexander Albon's on that one. The slashes were because you could argue them either way. Yeah, fair enough.
The Kvyat thing.
Is that for AS19?
His tyre just exploded.
I think the AlphaTauri just failed him.
Was there debris on track or something?
No.
Maybe it was because he was going over the curbs. You never know. Suspension.
They said
damaged.
Yeah, they said at the times. He would have punted Lewis.
Yes.
Yeah, that's probably a fair shout, Rox, in terms of
and then
Max
Albon would have
Verstappen.
got a podium.
Who would have thought? Perez's driver of the day. Oh, Blue Flag Alpha. I wish I could say that, but no. Perez drove a fantastic race up until that point, screwed by strategy when all the other midfield pitted, and obviously then got buggered there.
That's another advantage McLaren have over Racing Point.
Their strategy team is a lot better in terms of that. McLaren obviously are used.
At the helm.
Yeah, they do that. Although Racing Point do seem like they usually get things together. And that is the Force India team that have taken advantage with Perez and podiums before. That's actually the biggest surprise that, Perez wasn't able to secure a podium today when that opportunity came. But that would have been a hell of a start to the season for them from where they've come. But you can't take anything away from McLaren and Lando. That was sensational for them to be in the position to take about that. And the pure emotion on radio, brilliant to see. What an F1 race on that front.
I think Lando deserved driver of the day. That last lap, to defend against your teammate and then somehow find that final lap out of nowhere. Well, okay, yeah, pace all race. That was an insane last lap to just get within those 5 seconds.
It was indeed fastest lap in the McLaren. He really did kind of push and go hell for leather on that. And
to beat those Mercedes who were flying at the start of the race. Yeah, they may have had issues. They had more fuel.
Isn't the lap record a 106.9 from Kimi Raikkonen in 2018 in the Ferrari? I think it is. But Viandra's saying this is a classic. Sam said to me on Twitter, this really does feel like 10 years' time.
Classic race review.
It does. It feels like it will be a classic race. It feels weird. You can't really kind of say races that are too modern to be a classic race review. I'm about to review the race myself, so bye. Thanks, Liam, for joining in the chat. Good luck with your race review. Make sure you go and check out Liam Talks F1 channel. A young, passionate fan, a Ferrari fan, so he's very happy that Charles Leclerc has somehow managed to secure a P2 today. But I'm still trying to... So much happened. I don't really know where to go. Like the safety cars, it was so comical getting that second one with Kimi Raikkonen's on there. The race restarts. I don't know. Have we covered it? Matthew Rivera, based on how things are looking, you have to wonder if Sainz would have been better serving staying at McLaren. I think that was the jokes going all around on Twitter yesterday.
Mercedes-powered McLaren.
Oh God, you honestly go, with Renault as well. They don't have the best relationship, but it looks now.
Maybe they'll have someone new in charge. You could give them a car.
Oh God, it really do. Yeah, no, just saying, you're probably a fair point. I think everyone was saying on that Sainz is wishing that he deletes the move to Ferrari now. Daniel Ricciardo's licking his lips, looking at that McLaren, going, at least I can get away from Renault reliability problems. For the first time in my career, I won't be in a Renault-powered car that won't let me down. You never know. Maybe it's just Ricciardo, bless he, gets cursed and reliability issues. I really hope that he has a good stint at McLaren, that's for sure. I kept on saying that Ferrari is a clear upgrade on McLaren at the times. I think currently what we're seeing, it does look a little bit like I might be backtracking on that statement. How Ferrari have gone from challenging in 2017 and 2018 bar kind of strategy calls and driver errors to being a midfield team in 2020 as things currently stand.
They are literally midfield.
Like, it's just dropped off a cliff.
Leclerc got second, but that's because he's Leclerc. You see Vettel struggling down in 10th.
But if we take Mercedes and Red Bull out of the equation, which I think will clearly be the one fighting at the top of the Grand Prix, how good is that midfield? How amazing is that? Like, the racing throughout in that midfield was just incredible. Places of changes.
It would be great to see Ricciardo flying amongst those four: Sainz, Perez, and Norris.
Yeah, Leclerc was licking the stamp and sending it. Norris was sending it down the inside. Ricciardo, king of sending it. That would have been absolutely incredible to see, I think, definitely, on that front. But what a race to start the F1 2020 season.
And we get it all over again next week.
I honestly cannot wait for Austria again. I mean, we had great races in the F2 and F3 this weekend and go from there. Joe from the F1 clubs just joined in. Sorry, I'm late. No problem at all. I imagine you were probably doing your own reaction to that. Just absolutely mental. What a race.
There wasn't much to talk about.
Yeah.
We've really struggled with talking points from the race.
Yeah, we've stretched this 35 minutes. It was a real struggle. What a boring start to F1. Oh my God! Like Lando Norris and Charles Leclerc on the podium. Who put that in your podium predictions? So sad for Albon. You are sad for Albon, but at the same time, he's got to learn. He's got to learn this racecraft that he keeps putting his. Martin Brundle, I think, summed it up perfectly in thing. Your car's used to attack, but you've also got to defend your car in terms of it as well. And yeah, he just look.
It's one of the riskiest corners to do it on.
What's the famous Senna quote? If there's a gap, you got to go for it.
Yeah. You're no longer a racing driver if you're not going for the gap or something like that. Yeah, turn 1, turn 3. Even on,
and he would have had him on the soft compound later on the race.
Just DRS down the pit straight.
How easy was it to actually? He could have done turn 4 because coming out of turn 3, that DRS zone into turn 4 looked a really easy overtake because that's what Lewis Hamilton got on Alex Albon earlier in the race, and quite a lot of the overtakes come from there. It was go. We talked about. We'll come back to the Hamilton penalty. Also, very happy from Claren. Craig Taggart, thanks for coming in. Such a good race. Can't believe what I've just watched. I think that's what a lot of things. Vian just swearing. In fairness, as a Ferrari fan, I can believe that you would have predicted Leclerc on the podium, but.
Did you pull him second though, behind Mercedes?
Even the most optimistic Ferrari fan surely didn't think that was a possibility. Like Charles Leclerc has finished P2. Like I said, if somehow these Hungary updates actually do change their performance and they are challenging at the top again, I can't see. Like we said, the timesheets that came that all the Ferrari power cars were so far off their pace last year that it just looks the Ferrari power unit is now the worst power unit on the grid. It's just, it looks more than an aerodynamic issue.
It's even worse than Renault.
Although, if you want a kind of aerodynamic issue, I think Will Earl from the FP1 podcast, he has a background in aerodynamics. That's what he studies at uni and hopes to go into as a career. He released a great video on it with Ferrari yesterday. So definitely check out his channel and see where that goes on that front. He should have gave the corner up, but still, we said earlier in the chat, Joe, that you could argue either way. If Hamilton didn't get a penalty, I don't think you could have gone too outraged as it was obvious a penalty, but I don't think you can argue either the fact that he has got a penalty as well. Rox is happy for Viandra and also for a second fantasy team. Fantasy points. Me and Stephen actually managed in the end, uncoincidentally, that we had the same team in the end with Hamilton, Ricciardo, Grosjean, Russell, and Perez turbo driver. Well,
3 of them didn't finish.
It's not a great stuff.
Williams 8th in the constructors. Getting Williams progress. Come on, Williams. This is new Williams. 11th on merit.
Oh,
what? 11th was last? Oh, no. It was 11th. It was a great result.
Definitely. Definitely. No one definitely would have finished above Williams on merit if it hadn't. Haas and Alfa. I don't even know. A bit crazy. Fantasy bombed, I assume, for me. I haven't been able to check. Don't bother checking. But also, post-race, the fantasy isn't the best of going there. Matthew Riviera, if you look at the constructor side, he was just talking about Williams being there. People just laughing at that from there. Rox called it Williams P8 in the constructors. Well, there is at least 7 more races to go in this season. Let's hold off on that front. But I feel sorry because I think Russell was having an incredible race.
Russell would have got a point, I'm sure. Okay, it would have been tough, but he was ahead of. He was looking good. His race pace was looking good compared to the Alphas and even Sebastian Vettel.
Also, I know it wasn't engine technically it was gearbox for the Mercedes, but they had reliability issues. Those sausage curbs are taking names from the F1 club. I mean, absolutely. I mean, Jesus, like every car just like fell to pieces. It's almost like it's been 7 months and they forgot how to build it, how to build an F1 car. It's just crazy. Russell was literally ahead of Seb. He literally was. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if Seb would have done it. I think Seb probably did some damage to his car.
His pace was awful. There was damage from when he spun. So he was nowhere near the pace today.
But yeah, I don't even know. Have we technically covered everything? Giovinazzi actually, maybe is worth a note, was genuinely quicker than Kimi Räikkönen.
Kimi was ahead of Gio.
Was Kimi ahead of Gio when his tyre went?
I believe so. Can someone confirm?
I'm pretty sure Gio out-qualified Kimi and was going ahead of Kimi as well in the race.
I'm pretty sure Kimi got DRS passing him.
Okay, all right. Kimi's car was flying. Oh dear. I mean, Seb had a brilliant view of that. I know Seb and Kimi are friends.
Gio was ahead.
They're going to have that. Yeah, I thought Gio was ahead in terms of it. Goes to that. Makes you wonder how things would have gone in Australia with all the reliability issues, or if COVID brake related. That is a good point, actually. Australia, I think, is a lot less demanding. Austria is always quite a demanding track on F1. So obviously, by the stage they've got to Austria, what's Austria? Usually about the 8th or 9th race in the calendar, somewhere around that time. So they've at least, Mercedes probably would have fixed that gearbox issue. That probably would have been highlighted earlier in the season. And Albert Park is usually a gentle kind of ease into the season, I would say, so to say. So I think the reliability issues have been amplified because Austria is starting the Grand Prix when it really shouldn't. We'll get on to next weekend predictions probably after this.
Rock's fancy is updated and is correct. What? Have the prices changed? Because
it's witchcraft.
The dynamic pricing I thought was going to change as soon as qualifying hit, but they weren't changing in the race. So I actually brought in Lando Norris before his prices jumped up. So I don't know if the prices have changed yet. I don't know when that comes in.
Definitely, but I'm going to stick with Renault, I feel.
Yeah.
And I do actually think the Haas had potential to do well if they thought, the brake problems aren't going to be fixed.
Has not started yet. So it's still an opportunity.
So if you want to make any late switches, get them in now before the dynamic pricing kicks in.
Tell you what, Albon could drop, but will he drop?
I'll tell you what. Should we go with by Pandea's question of any next weekend predictions? I think we've got
anything like this race.
I think you've got to predict that Max is going to be in the mix, because that just looked like an electrical technical problem that the car misfired. He looked like he went into a different mode, and then it just kind of completely fried the system, and it all went kind of tits up. There wasn't like any kind of fundamental issues with the car, where Mercedes have a fundamental issue with the gearbox and how that car was driving. So I can't see, and also that would have been a week's kind of. They're going out in the same cars next week. They're not going to bring any upgrades between now and next week, are they? So I can definitely see Mercedes struggling again next week, but Valtteri Bottas maybe winning again. Does he get 2 wins straight out the blocks?
Or will Lewis come back with anger? Because if he's saying it's a racing incident, he's not going to be too pleased.
No, Lewis definitely doesn't tend to have too bad races in a row, and he definitely had the pace on Valtteri Bottas.
He was the quicker guy, yeah.
Yeah, I think Hamilton definitely will be all guns blazing next weekend, but I just don't know in terms of there. Albon, you've got a favour for a podium. Nah, do you? Because I think It depends. If Max has issues again.
Podium. I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, I was going to say, if Max doesn't have any reliability issues, then it probably looks like Mercedes and Max Verstappen on the podium next week. That's what I would imagine. But the midfield, I would expect Racing Point to be ahead of the McLarens next week. I think they can sort their issues, and it was a strategic call that got it wrong today. So I'm going to go on that front. But yeah.
My podium for next week is Lewis, Bottas, Verstappen, followed by Charles Leclerc, Lando Norris, Carlos Sainz. I put the McLarens at the race points.
I think next weekend some normality will resume to racing. Hopefully it's crazy as this one. I think, Rox is saying that, the teams will be more cautious, isn't she? And probably because they've also got to look at just getting through Austria, because it looks like it's really hard on the cars, and you've got to imagine that bringing upgrades and bringing repairs, have they still got, that's a good question, I'm forgetting off the top of my head, have they still got limits to the amount of engines, gearboxes that they can use in the season?
I think they still do.
This was crazier than Germany last year. I don't know. Germany was very crazy, but
this had the safety cars to go with it. Yeah,
certainly.
9 retirements.
I really honestly can't tell from there. I mean, guys, I throw it to the chat. Is there anything really else that you want to talk about in is there anything else you want to talk about from that race, or are you still just kind of coming to terms with the fact that Ferrari, being awful all weekend, have somehow got a P2? Lando Norris has got his first career podium.
Before Albon and Russell.
Yep.
F2, they had about 4 safety cars as well. We watched that.
Kids love F1. Racing incident, no penalty for Hamilton. Is that it's changed the decision?
Bam.
Or
I think that's opinion, surely.
That's opinion. The Vettel incident when he spun, we did talk about that.
Suitably mock his performance, yes.
Oh, don't do that. That's a Maldives hero. You can't just kind of do that. Make sure you check out Kids Love F1, by the way. Great F1 new channel. Definitely going from that. How can you predict that to F1 Fantasy? No idea. F1 Fantasy, I think everything got blown out the window this week. Perez, I would still say, is a great pick to have. The Racing Point pace is there. But McLaren's...
You'll be looking at either of those McLaren drivers. One of the few teams not to have reliability issues. But
through the season, those McLarens just feel like they're probably going to keep developing. And will they be ahead of the Racing Points by
how much development can that Racing Point do to its car? And they've taken most of it from Mercedes 2019.
That is a question.
Whereas McLaren have their own car that they can develop.
They do, but also Racing Point, that factory team are so good. Like, they're one of the most underrated factory teams and things. They've consistently overachieved through their F1 career.
Yeah.
And they've got podiums. They've got a brilliant driver in Sergio Perez. I think it is going to be close on that front. Number one, I love the way that Hamilton has screwed Albon twice out of a podium. Sarcasm, by the way. Oh dear, it just is one of those incidents that happen. You kind of if you go around the outside, it's always the risky move, and sometimes that it doesn't come off for you. I think Norris would be pain for Sainz this season. I mean, look, Norris in his rookie season beat Sainz in qualifying, and he wasn't too far off in terms of race if you compare the reliability issues. Lando Norris to beat Carlos Sainz over the course of the season, I don't think is a bad shout at all, actually.
Yeah.
But I would probably recommend, if we were talking fancy-wise, get Lando Norris in, because I think his price, if the prices haven't changed, his price is going to go through the roof.
And after that podium.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Signs to Ferrari in 2021 season. It is indeed, and it looks like at the moment that is a down step in the career. But
just confirming again.
let's agree the penalty is 50-50, just like Leclerc Max move.
Yeah.
Could have gone either way. Absolutely, completely agree with you, Rox, on that one. I think on that. But anyway, where will we go? Where will Vettel go after the season retirement? I think probably fair enough. I can't really see Vettel going anywhere else.
He's looking a bit lost at the moment.
He looks like he's losing the love for it. So I can definitely see Sebastian Vettel retiring.
He needs a year out. I'd like to see him come back. I think he needs a year out for himself. Just to
refresh, recharge the batteries and reassess what he wants from F1. And then he can have a good look at where the teams are going into the rule changes in 2022, can't he? Vettel should join Mercedes. For fans, we would love to see Sebastian Vettel and Lewis Hamilton in the same team together, but absolutely not a chance in hell is that happening. I may find myself that I eat my words on that, but definitely on there.
The door's open.
Question: does anyone see Seb leaving before the end of the season? We did. Stephen mentioned that to me, I think, yesterday.
Yeah, I was asking who's the reserve driver because Sainz isn't coming over. So someone may have to step up into that seat.
If the Hungary update that comes and Ferrari is still in the midfield and Seb has had a terrible Austrian Hungary, I could see him walking out because he might go, what's the point? Ferrari don't want me.
He clearly has no love for the team anymore after the comments.
Yeah, exactly.
If he still had loyalty to the team, I think he would have stayed quiet. But he came out and actually threw them under the bus, quite rightly, though.
Yeah, publicly outing them in that press conference and publicly outing Mattia Bonotto, making him rather kind of uncomfortable in that interview, definitely was a case that, yeah, it wasn't great.
Yeah.
Do you hope that Bottas wins the championship this year?
No.
I wouldn't be opposed to it. If he earns it, then absolutely, I wouldn't mind Bottas winning the championship. I have no real affiliation to go. There isn't anything that's made me go, oh, wouldn't it be amazing if Valtteri Bottas wins a championship? But if he wins it and he's earned it over Lewis Hamilton over the course of the season, I'm not going to begrudge him it. I think it would be... sorry, that was in relation... Bit of context into that. Obviously, yesterday, Valtteri Bottas went off at the end of qualifying, spun in the grass, made a joke coming over the line when he figured out that he got pole, going, not bad for a lawnmower. Stephen was peed off that he ruined two people's qualifying laps. Obviously, got his teammate a penalty with the yellow flag and all that controversy on that front.
He jokes he's a lawnmower.
So
I'm keeping it control. I'm under control. It's fine. Boss one, he had a good grace. He's a lawnmower. I'm fine.
Quickest lawnmower out there, though.
I look fine, don't I?
Okay, Stephen's lost it. Right, okay, usually you can edit that stuff out, but we've been on live stream. Don't mess with a redhead. He gets very angry. In terms
of... I want to talk about his collision. That guy is such a gentleman. I was so composed in his response. I do feel bad for Albon.
Alex Albon is a lovely guy. I think he is, but I think he needs to get a harder and more ruthless streak in himself if he is going to really compete for podiums and wins. I think he's too nice a guy at the moment. He is aggressive in his car in terms of the way that he puts his car out there, but I think he's too... it's okay.
Yeah. It'll come with experience. See you later, Sam.
See you later, Sam. Thanks for joining in the live chat. Thanks for everyone and going on there. But yes,
I think we are about done as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, we'll round off. If there are any other questions, we're happy to answer them. If not, we'll round this off. And a quick update, me and Stephen will be back tomorrow on the channel with a video giving our driver ratings from that first Grand Prix. And if you are new around here, I think it might be me and Ash. It might be me and Stephen. I think it's going to be me and Stephen this week with the race review podcast on the Tuesday. And then we go same again with the previews. F1 Fantasy Weekly on Wednesday, preview on Thursday, and then we go at it again. But Nico joining in. Great stream, guys. Thanks for joining us on there. Rox was just asked about fantasy. Looks like questions are rounded up. So we're going to round off things from there. Guys, F1 is well and truly back. Thank you for everyone who's joined us in stream. Absolutely brilliant to kind of chat that amazing race. It's brilliant F1 is back, and what a race we had there. we're going to, even in the race review podcast, I think,
struggle
sitting down and just trying to comprehend what we've seen in that race ahead of us was absolutely, insane in terms of that front. A late comment coming in from Ronald. Albon needs to be replaced by Kvyat and actually score podiums for Red Bull. Ouch, that's a controversial one to drop. Maybe that's a question we'll answer in the race review podcast. But anyway, thank you so much. Have a brilliant end to your weekend. It's been a brilliant race weekend for us here at F1 Fanatics. Everyone with F1 back. F2 was brilliant. F3 was back. We watched the IndyCar yesterday. I think in total I've watched 6 races this weekend. I even watched the Porsche Super Cup because I was so excited that racing was back. But yeah, I absolutely. Craig, thanks for shouting up on the stream. We will see you guys later. Have a good day. But for now, you F1 fans, keep racing.